You want answers?
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You want answers?
You have offended my family.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth.
And you have offended a Shaolin temple.
You can't handle the truth.
Surely you can't be serious.
I am serious. And don't call me Shirley.
Radical Rant.
All right, if you've been watching the cannabis media today, you know about the billboard that's been put out by the Marijuana Policy Project, a video billboard that is to appear outside of NASCAR's Brickyard 400 race in Indianapolis. Let's show you that video right now, and then we'll come back and talk about it.
If you're an adult who enjoys a good beer, there's a similar product you might want to know about. One without all the calories and serious health problems. Less toxic so it doesn't cause hangovers or overdose deaths, and it's not linked to violence or reckless behavior. Marijuana. Less harmful than alcohol, and time to treat it that way. For more information, visit marijuanaissafer.org.
That's a new video from Marijuana Policy Project, the Marijuana is Safer ad, and it's entitled New Beer, a New Beer. And I just have a few things I want to discuss about this because everything in the ad that they say relating to marijuana is absolutely true. It's got no calories, right? In fact, we've even found that marijuana users tend to have a smaller waist circumference than people that don't smoke marijuana, even though marijuana smokers consume more calories. And we've got a story on that in hour 2 as well about marijuana and diabetes that you should hear about. We also know that marijuana is non-toxic. It doesn't cause any sort of hangover. In fact, it's quite a good cure for a hangover, come to think of it. And marijuana, of course, is not linked to violence. We don't find that people that smoke marijuana are more likely to be aggressive or edgy or violent in any sort of way. Those things are absolutely true. But take a moment and imagine that you're a NASCAR fan on your way to the Brickyard 400. You're in the middle of Indiana, conservative red state, one of the most pot-eating states there is. You and your friends and just about everybody you know drinks beer. Now, some of you may even drink the harder stuff. And to you, beer isn't just a tasty beverage. It's kind of part of your identity. And you might be a Budweiser guy. You might be a Miller guy. Maybe you like PBR. You're a hipster or something. Maybe you prefer an obscure craft beer. Maybe a Leinenkugel's or a Schaefer. I don't know, whatever. But the beer you drink is kind of part of your lifestyle. It's what you do to relax. It's the way you hang out with friends and socialize. So imagine you're that guy. And now you imagine that you've heard that the pot legalizers from Washington, D.C. put up some video outside the race, and those are the images that you see them portraying you as. You and your friends as beer-bellied rednecks, as women who are just beside themselves in their alcoholism with 5 empty glasses in front of them, as the fist-shaking, beer-holding guy in the wife-beater T-shirt, over the cowering woman, the cowering spouse who's afraid of him. Enjoy the race, you wife-beating obese alcoholics, and make sure to support our issue if you get the chance. And look, I'm not the only one to notice this demonization of alcohol in the service of promotion of marijuana. In covering this story today, USA Today commented that, quote, the video ad isn't just pro-marijuana, its tone sounds anti-alcohol, end quote. Business Insider actually put it in the headline that read, quote, this anti-beer, pro-marijuana ad will run during a NASCAR race. They led with anti-beer. Bleacher Report, the popular site for sports reporting, kind of user-generated sports reporting, predicted, quote, undoubtedly some NASCAR fans will be offended by the ad, end quote. Now, I called MPPs Mason DeVert, and, full disclosure, I've been working in marijuana reform since 2005, about the same time Mason DeVert was coming up. We've known each other for years. We've been at various rallies and events together. I'd like to consider him a friend. So just so you know, the fair disclosure there. But I called him, And Mason's the one who actually put the ad together. And if you know your history in marijuana reform, Mason was part of a group called SAFER, Safer Alternatives for Enjoyable Recreation, a recursive acronym. But SAFER, which promoted the idea that marijuana is safer. And you can't argue that it was an unsuccessful campaign, considering they got Denver first to legalize marijuana and then finally the entire state. Mason put the ad together with a couple of staffers. They used some stock footage and spent about $350. And then to place the ad, they got a non-profit rate from the place that hosts the Billboard, so it only cost them $2,200. So for a little more than $2,500, I mean, in terms of bang for the buck, especially with all the earned media coverage they're going to get for free on this ad, I mean, Mason DeVert has hit a home run. At least he's hit a home run for the marijuana team. The question is whether or not he just hit a home run for pot in a Miller Park or a Coors Field. So when I called Mason today, I asked him whether he was concerned about a backlash from the beer lovers who might be offended by the ad. And he said, quote, no. That was it. No. Very flatly. And then he added, we are just reaching out to people who enjoy alcohol responsibly to think about the facts surrounding marijuana use, end quote. Well, then I replied that portraying beer drinkers as beer-bellied wife beaters doesn't sound like enjoying alcohol responsibly. To which Mason replied, quote, we want them to consider why marijuana must be illegal and why should we punish adults for using something objectively less harmful than alcohol, end quote. And that's, to his credit, Mason has always been on point with that message. Marijuana is safer than alcohol. We shouldn't treat it more like it's more harmful than alcohol. Absolutely on point, and a point that I cannot disagree with. I just question the wisdom of the framing of it. We can promote marijuana being good without having to denigrate alcohol being bad. And that's where I think we've crossed the line with this particular ad. MPP's had a similar public relations skirmish with beer lovers already. And this, from personal experience out here in Portland, Oregon. Prior to the Portland Craft Beer and Wine Festival, MPP placed a billboard up that had a beer, a glass of wine, and a pot leaf. And it said, beer, wine, safer. And it was right up in downtown across from a rehab center. There was all sorts of controversy on it, got on the evening news. Now, the lobbyists for the alcohol industry did not like that billboard. They didn't take kindly to the portrayal of their product as something dangerous. And in the State House down in Salem, they were being neutral on a bill that was going through the legislature that would legalize marijuana, not through an initiative, but legislatively pass a law to legalize marijuana. And the alcohol industry, the beer and wine industry, which is very powerful in Oregon, we got a lot of craft breweries, we got a lot of wineries, they were being neutral on that bill until they saw that billboard. And they were threatening, after seeing that billboard, to oppose marijuana legalization, the beer and wine industry to oppose marijuana legalization. And that's until some of the local marijuana lobbyists assured them that no, this wasn't, local activists doing this. This was MPP from Washington, D.C. So now that marijuana legalization has reached majority support in this country, I just don't think it's necessary, and I don't think it's prudent to accumulate new enemies to legalization. We got enough enemies with the cops and the rehabs and the churches. Well, some of the churches, some of them are coming around. But we got enough enemies out there. The drug dealers who don't want prohibition to end. Let's not add more enemies to the pile. Demonizing alcohol to promote marijuana, it just threatens to create animosity between people who should be natural allies. People who like to get a buzz on now and then. The benefits of marijuana and its legalization can be promoted without offending the alcohol industry, which, at least when it comes to craft breweries, seems to welcome and celebrate the legalization of marijuana. I mean, we have the joint effort ale from Red Hook, and we've got the Shastafarian porter and a lot of, beers out there and beer brewers who are embracing the legalization of marijuana. There are a lot of people in both industries who recognize there can be a synergy between the enjoyment of alcohol and the enjoyment of marijuana, and who recognize that there need to be very important educational messages put out that you get much drunker and less in control if you're using both. These are important points that also need to be made. But to make enemies of an industry that supports most of football, basketball, NASCAR. I mean, you look at the typical NASCAR track, not only is NASCAR sponsored in a couple of different ways by Crown Royal and is it Budweiser, I think that's sponsoring? But look on the track. I mean, there's got to be at least 5 or 6 cars out there on the track that are directly sponsored by Budweiser or Miller or Coors. To risk offending those sponsors and those people that keep the engines of sport running in lots of sports, and the advertising revenue to the television industry coming in, it might be a situation where you make a short-term gain with $2,500 in a local Indiana Billboard ad, but create a larger national problem with the beer and alcohol industries questioning whether or not they should oppose marijuana legalization any more than some of them already do. I mean, the Partnership for Drug-Free America started with donations from Miller and Coors and Budweiser and such. Let's make sure they understand that adding marijuana to the list, to the menu of legal fun substances does not have to mean the demonization and a hit to the bottom line of the alcohol industry. We'll take your calls on that subject. If you've got any opinions on the Billboard ad, we'll be live at 971-533-7111 in Hour 2, our Toker Talk Radio. Thanks for joining us here live from Rolla J Studios in Portland, Oregon. I'm Radical Russ for the Russ Belville Show on 420radio.org. Thanks for being here, and until next time, take care of each other, Tokers.
This is the Russ Belville Show. The Russ Belville Show is blogging and podcasting daily at radicalruss.com.
You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it. You take a seed, you plant it, you grow it, you dry it, you roll it, you smoke it.